Cameron, can I thank you very much for your very kind introduction, and thank you all and the NIFHA for the invitation to speak here tonight. I want to apologise on behalf of Minister O'Sullivan, who has extended a very kind invitation to come here. It has been, as some of you will know, Budget Week in the South, and ministers in Budget Week do not like to be too far away when the money's been given out and find themselves needing to be around shortly thereafter for media purposes and so on. But she was very anxious that I attend, and I'm delighted for the opportunity to say a few words to you tonight. As I listened this morning to the opening session, which I suppose set the scene for the conference, I was struck by the fact that it is a really tumultuous time for housing, certainly in Northern Ireland. I know from other regions across the UK and also in the Republic of Ireland. I think when Ian spoke this morning about it being the most exciting time for housing, that certainly resonated with me. When Cameron talked about the need for strong, well-regulated, independent housing associations, that's certainly something that we can relate to in the South. And when he talked about his 3 Ps that you were all supposed to remember, and I presume everybody does, but they were, for the purposes of reminding everybody, procurement, public land and planning, and I'll return to planning later on. When Minister McCausland spoke about a development plan, a housing development plan that requires, of which 80% relies on 4 housing associations, that also resonates with me in the South, where we have some very dominant big players, and I certainly understand that. And I think it was perhaps Alex Atwood in the short video that was shown earlier, who, when he said, politicians were asked, what do you think of housing associations? And what he said was, well, they do a lot of good, but they need to reform and they need to become a lot more efficient and a lot more effective. And that's certainly something that we in the South are trying to do. And again, but to go back to, again, to what Ian said, first thing, above all things that we need to do is for housing to develop its voice and to assert itself in the media with politicians and above all with the general public as to what it does and the good it does and what exactly this project is in trying to deliver housing in the way and in the manner that we have chosen. I suppose I want to stress above all that I'm very, very much here to listen and to learn, and in no way to teach and to tell. So these remarks are just purely informed by what I saw this morning. But I know that in Ireland, our sector needs to develop, and it needs to develop very quickly. Many of you will know that we relied on 100% capital funding, either to housing associations or through direct provision, right up to the onset of the economic crisis. So in many ways, we have to telescope what happened here over 25 years and what happened in the UK generally over 25 years into a much, much shorter timescale. We need to develop scale, we need to develop capacity, we need to regulate a sector that has, as I say, hitherto grown up on 100% grant funding and has fulfilled a hugely important role, but is possibly not as able as we need now to deliver supply, and that is the position we find ourselves in at the moment. There is a lot of good news in the Republic as well. There is still capital money available for housing, not 100%, but there is up to 30% available. There are still very attractive leasing offers available for long periods of time. Our Housing Finance Agency still has €500 million available to lend into the sector. And when I look around and I see a lot of the names, as I look through the list of attendees today, I see a lot of familiar names. I see Fold, I see Clanmill, I see Oakley, all of whom who have operations south of the border. And I suppose I would extend an invitation to anybody who wants to come and have a look and kick the tires, so to speak, in the south, that we would certainly be happy to facilitate any housing association that wants to come down, either for reasons of diversification or to examine the offer that's there. I just also want to turn briefly to planning. I am a planner and I'm very passionate about this. I'm conscious that I'm also a planner who stands between 150 people and their dinner, so I'm not going to dwell on the point too long. But you know, somebody mentioned, Cameron mentioned planning, and I think somebody from Clanmill mentioned planning as well. And you know, planning for housing is something we can do so much better. And it's not just about land. It's about the whole gamut of housing and building communities. It's not just about the spatial aspect of it, it's also about the temporal aspect and how we plan for housing and how we build communities over time. how we look at demographics, how we examine where we live, where we go to school, where we play, where we socialize, how all those things work, how we connect with other communities and how we connect with other urban centres and where we live. And it's hugely, hugely important. You know, planning is it's not a bureaucratic exercise. It shouldn't be an obstructionist exercise. It shouldn't be, in any sense, a political or a party political exercise. It should be an enabling thing that allows the right thing to happen in the right place at the right time. And there is enormous potential for planning and housing to work an awful lot more closely together. My minister has responsibility for planning and housing, and I'm very fortunate to work to have those two portfolios put together. And I know it's something that we want to work on because it's not something we've always done in the past. But the potential to put together planning and housing to really deliver places where people can grow and flourish is tremendous. And it's an opportunity that as you move into a whole set of reforms and a whole set of changes in here, that I would certainly urge any efforts that can be done to do that better to be taken. I'm not going to delay you any longer. As I say, I'm acutely conscious of my speaking slot, and I am aware that Minister Durkan is due to speak after me and won't thank me for delaying you any longer. So with that, can I thank you all very much for your attention, and enjoy your evening. Thank you.